I fought my legal case for a long time before I actually went to prison. Between 2005 and 2011, when I was indicted, I hired attorneys and met with the FBI and met with the prosecutors and basically tried to explain that, look, banks were involved in this. The banks are not victims. They're a conspirator in this. There's appraisers, there's mortgage brokers. I'm just an investor, right? But it didn't matter because once they build their narrative, it's just how it goes. And I wish I would have known more. But anyway, I wasted a lot of time and energy. So when it comes to being indicted, what happens is a prosecutor goes in and they present the evidence. It's a very one-sided process, and a grand jury decides whether or not you're going to be charged or indicted. And they always choose to charge you or indict you. But they called my mother and my son and a bunch of other people into the grand jury, which is terrible. And I remember sitting outside the grand jury waiting for my son to come out, and I'm talking to one of the agents. And the agent says to me, you know, Portia, this really doesn't have to be that bad. They'll present the evidence. You're indicted. When you make a deal, it'll probably be a relief to you. And I looked at him and I said, does that really work for you? Like this little spiel that you give, does it really work? And he stands back and he goes, you know, we get 97%. We win 97% of the time. And if we don't win, we just indict you on something else. And then we get you, you know, the second time around. And I was so furious and frustrated. It pretty much drove me insane, like the whole process. I planned to go to trial. 3 weeks before my trial, I had like a full-on mental breakdown. I couldn't even talk anymore. Now, here's the worst thing about having a mental breakdown. They take you into custody. So I couldn't talk. I was trying to talk to my attorneys and I couldn't get the words out. So the government goes before the judge. They have me go into the courtroom. They won't let my husband in, and they tell the judge that they think that they need to do a mental evaluation. And here's what happens. I hardly even remember this, but the U.S. Marshals take me to a county jail. They put me in a cell for 10 days. I don't even get out of the cell to shower or anything else. I have a full-on mental breakdown because that's traumatic anyway. They ended up taking my clothes, which is also very traumatic. And that's a whole, you know, they put me in a rubber room, basically. And then they transferred me to Seattle. Well, first I was transferred to Pahrump, and I'm put on Con Air in chains and shackles in this mental condition of mental breakdown. Then they send me to Pahrump. I'm there for a week, send me to Seattle, which is also a very locked down institution, and they do this mental evaluation. So if you're not crazy yet from being transferred around, I realized when I got there, I called my husband and he's like, Portia, you need to get it together. He's like, because if they find that you're not competent to stand trial, they could keep you locked down on a mental evaluation. So I'm like meditating and breathing. Eventually, the psychiatrist deems that I am competent to stand trial. They send me back to Nevada for a month and then back to the same county jail. All of this is so traumatic. And then I go to the courthouse and I tell my attorney, if they'll let me out today, I'll plead guilty. This all happened before I even pled guilty. What's crazy about it is I get to federal prison and there were so many other people that had had the same experience. Like I had a friend that was a doctor, a medical doctor. They did the same thing to her. I had another friend that was in on securities. Now, it might be just that when you're a white collar, you know, a person that has, I mean, it's hard for us to accept the fact that we broke the law. It's just too much. And so we snap, because I truly did have a mental breakdown. But this whole process of shipping you around, and during that ship, nobody even knows where you are. I spent 3 months going from facility to facility, and my husband had no idea where I was. Talk about trauma. What I am grateful for is that I pled guilty, because when I got to prison, there were a lot of people who had fought right to the end, and they got 70 years, 60 years on charges like mine. I was like, are you kidding me? And they were truly mentally incapacitated. Like they couldn't function. They couldn't accept their prison sentence, which I totally get.